Did you know the East African countries are formulating a plan to merge together as one country? Well, sit back, grab a soda and learn about the proposed East African Federation.
The East African Federation is a proposed political union of the 7 sovereign states of the East African Community. That is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, South Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda and Burundi as a single sovereign state. The East African Federation shall have one president and an executive cabinet. The East African Legislative Assembly (EALA) will be expanded in its legislative powers and East Africans given universal suffrage in the election of its members. The East African Court of Justice will be given broad prerogatives to adjudicate issues between the states. The East African Monetary Institute is the precursor to the East African Central Bank. This idea came up in the 1960s but has not yet come into fruition. It is an idea that is in process to fruition though, because in 2018 a committee was formed to begin the drafting of a regional constitution, and a draft constitution for the Confederation was set to be written by the end of 2021 and get implemented by 2023. The proposed capital city of the Federation is set to be Arusha, a city in Tanzania close to the Kenyan border, which is also the current headquarters of the East African Community. The largest city in the Federation would be Kinshasa, the capital city of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Kinshasa would also be the most populous city in the proposed federation by city limits and metropolitan area. Dar es Salaam in Tanzania would come second by population within city limits, and Nairobi in Kenya would come second by population in the metropolitan area. The lingua franca would be Swahili, as it is spoken widely in the region. The East African Federation translated in Swahili is Shirikisho Afrika Mashariki. The official languages would be English and French. The total population estimate for the region as of 2022 stood at approximately 300 million people, which would be the most populous country in Africa and the 4th most populous country in the world after China, India and the United States. Its population would be greater than that of Russia, Japan, Brazil, Mexico and Indonesia. The population statistics of the East African countries as of 2021 are as follows, which totals to about 300 million people. At 4,800,000 square kilometers, the East African Federation would be the largest country in Africa and the 7th largest country in the world. It would be a superstate spanning the continent from the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean. The purchasing power parity GDP estimate for the region as of 2022 stood at approximately $830 billion, which is the 34th highest in the world. The nominal GDP estimate at 2022 was around $320 billion, making it the 34th largest market in the world and the 4th largest market in Africa after Nigeria, Egypt and South Africa. This all means the East African Federation would be a true African superpower. The currency would be the East African shilling, which would combine all the economies in the region and is set to become the common currency of 5 of the 7 member countries by 2023. Proponents believe that the unified market and shared strategic security will create an African powerhouse. Representatives from all the related nations are always working together to advance the eventual goal. The Rwandan franc is the best performer in the region and is easily convertible. Uganda's shilling is the least convertible of the 7. Gradual progress is being made on monetary integration. The East African Monetary Institute, for instance, began operating in July 2021 as a precursor to the planned East African Central Bank. The East African Monetary Union (EAMU) is an important stage in the process of East African Community regional integration, and it lays groundwork for a monetary union within 10 years. It also allows the East African partner states to progressively converge their currencies into a single currency in the community. In April 2022, Yoweri Museveni, Uganda's president, restated his desire for the culmination of the East African Federation in an address to the nation, reinforcing his stance that the East African Federation could provide political and economic benefits for the region. Under the control of one president, a united front will provide easier diplomatic processes for multinational companies to deal with. From this standpoint, the economic advantages of the Federation have been cited as a rationale for global powers such as the United States not opposing the Federation. uniting a front of 300 million people and $320 billion worth of gross domestic product would have an economic appeal. A survey conducted in Tanzania revealed that a majority of respondents thought that the union of the East African community would better trading opportunities in the region, and a majority also responded that the union would provide better job availability in the region. The population of the theoretical federation is composed of 65% under 30-year-olds. This youth bulge is expected to grow to 75% of the population under the age of 25 in this region by 2030. This reflects the youth and opportunity of this region. A customs union was introduced in 2005 which would allow for free trade within the federation, allowing for greater economic activity in the region if the federation is ever implemented. A complementary union of goods and capital labor laws was introduced in 2010 which would act similarly, standardizing the rules in the region pertaining to these facets of the economy and allowing for greater economic flexibility. Integration and standardization in these facets of the economy under one large federation would make the area more economically appealing to a multinational corporation looking to operate in the region. Rather than needing to comply with each country's tax and fiscal policies, they would be dealing with one unified front, leading to lower operating costs in the region. In addition to the customs union and common market, in 2018 the East African community introduced a common, machine-readable East African e-passport to replace national passports and boost free movement of people within the community. The 2019 Africa Regional Integration Index report rated the East African community as relatively well integrated, identifying the free movement of people and macroeconomic integration as the areas of greatest progress. It ranked Kenya as the best performing member state. On to the next aspect. Achieving full federation would eventually require a referendum in every partner nation. A survey conducted in Kenya found the following info. 36% heard nothing. 22% heard a small amount about the proposed East African Federation. More educated Kenyans are more likely to be aware of the East African Federation. More than 4 in 10 respondents with post-secondary education have heard some or a great deal about the Federation. Men at 41% are more informed than women at 27%. Other aspects of integration are even less popular. Only 49% of Kenyans support adopting a single currency. Just 44% endorse the formation of a unitary government, including having one East African president. One way to engage Africans more in the integration process might be through the East African Legislative Assembly (EALA), an East African community institution responsible for legislation, oversight and representing citizens' rights and interests at the regional level. Each partner country has 9 EALA representatives, nominated by political parties and elected by national parliaments, in proportion to each party's share of parliamentary seats. Letting member nations' citizens directly elect their EALA representatives could have 2 benefits. First, the election campaigns could raise awareness among East Africans about what the East African community is doing. And second, citizens might select more effective and suitable representatives. On the negative side, major problems within the Federation include incompatibilities in terms of language and ethnic divisions and political corruption. While the grouping of nations has adopted Swahili as their national language, there is a great deal of ethno-linguistic diversity within these groups. Different regional dialects and entirely different languages are spoken within the nations themselves. Integrating a region where so many regional dialects are spoken will be difficult and could inhibit some of the economic benefits of the East African community. Next setback, there is the unilateral lack of free governance throughout the 7 nations. According to the Freedom House metric system, Kenya and Tanzania boast the highest freedom scores of the 7 nations and still only rank as partly free. Censorship of media outlets, restriction of voter rights, ballot fraud and more instances of voter repression is present in all states. Merging nations with such corruption and anti-democratic establishments could pose a humanitarian crisis for the populations, who could suffer from decreased freedoms and make cooperation amongst the different governing powers more difficult. Further on, the economic prosperity of the nations attempting to join the Federation varies greatly, with Burundi holding the lowest GDP, $3 billion, nearly $100 billion less than Kenya's GDP, $98 billion. This discrepancy in wealth has impeded the less wealthy nations from conforming with some of the standards set for the East African Federation. South Sudan still fails to meet many of the criteria set for the community. The religious practices of the citizens of East Africa also vary considerably as shown. The community must confront severe economic challenges. For instance, Rwanda, Tanzania and the Democratic Republic of Congo each imports more than half of the grain that its citizens consume from Russia and Ukraine and were greatly affected by Russia's war on Ukraine in 2022. This scenario poses both a threat and an opportunity for the region. The threats are obvious, but the opportunities are for countries to act quickly to enhance food security and open up export opportunities for critical crops and related finished products, both regionally and internationally. Much work also remains to be done to guarantee that the East African Federation's political union is harmonious, especially with respect to the persistent military conflict in the eastern Congo region. The East African Community just conducted its first military deployment to the Democratic Republic of Congo recently, after the DRC president, Tshisekedi, signed an agreement in Tanzania to allow the deployment of EAC troops to the DRC. It is likely the EAC military deployment to the DRC will strengthen inter-regional cooperation very rapidly. The deployment to the Democratic Republic of Congo is the first such military operation of the East African Community. The mitigation of extremist activity in North Kivu will improve the contentious relationship between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. This could be a major step toward integration of East Africa. A major motivation behind the regional force deployment is preventing such tensions from developing into a wider war between East Africa Community member states. Ugandan troops will be specifically tasked with combating elements of the aligned Allied Democratic Forces. Tanzanian troops will join Burundi in South Kivu to fight Red Tabara insurgents. Burundi was given permission to enter DRC territory to fight insurgents. Besides this, South Sudanese soldiers have permission to engage the remaining elements of the LRA left. Fun facts about the East African Community countries. The Democratic Republic of Congo. First, the world's deepest river, the Congo River, is located in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It is also the second longest river in Africa and ninth longest river in the world. Second, the Congo forest is the second largest tropical rainforest in the world after the Amazon. It's actually twice the size of France. Thirdly, the chimpanzee and bonobo are found living naturally in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Chimpanzees are found exclusively north of the Congo River, while the bonobo, which is the most closely related animal to man, live naturally only south of the Congo River. Lastly, the Democratic Republic of Congo is known worldwide as the richest country in the world in terms of natural resources. The mining sector in the DRC therefore provides a livelihood for many Congolese people. Wild gorillas live in the forests of East and Central Africa, DRC, Rwanda, Uganda, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Angola, Congo, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea and Nigeria. Mountain gorillas live in East Central Africa in just two isolated groups, one in the Virunga volcanoes, a region spanning 3 national parks in Uganda, Rwanda and Democratic Republic of Congo. And one in Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in Uganda, which connects to Sarambwe Nature Reserve, DRC. Uganda. Uganda has the largest number of primates and highest number of mountain gorillas worldwide. Uganda also has the largest freshwater lake on the continent and the source of the longest river in the world, the Nile. Tanzania. Both Serengeti National Park and Masai Mara Game Reserve are found in East Africa, shared between Kenya and Tanzania. Serengeti is much larger than Masai Mara and is regarded as the better African safari destination for anyone. The Great Wildebeest Migration happens every year at Serengeti National Park and is actually considered as one of the wonders of the world. Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the highest mountain in Africa and the second highest mountain in the world, is found in Tanzania. The largest portion of the Great Rift Valley stretches through the whole East African Federation territory, with the western branch traversing through Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, DRC and Uganda. The eastern branch traverses Tanzania and Kenya, then proceeds to Ethiopia. Kenya. Kenya is known worldwide for producing some of the greatest athletes in the marathon, including the legendary Kipchoge Keino and Eliud Kipchoge. Kenya is the leading producer of tea in Africa, with its vast tea fields. Futuristic projects like the Konza Technopolis in Kenya make the East African Federation a true powerhouse. Rwanda. Rwanda capital city Kigali has set the trend for a long time as Africa's cleanest city. The Rwandan franc is also the best performing currency in the region. From the above facts, there is no doubt once again that the proposed East African Federation will be a true African powerhouse.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button. Stay tuned.